G'day subscribers. Today we're going to talk about the most embarrassing thing that can happen to you in a car, running out of petrol. Even when it's not your fault. You're with Jules Knight and the new assistant Sophie on Jive Talking Garage. G'day to everybody. Hope all the subscribers are fine. We've had a little break. Nice to see everybody. Today we're going to talk about running out of petrol and the Toowoomba swap meet. How about I show you first? Let's just get it out of the road what I got at Toowoomba. I only got 3 things. I spent like a total of $15. The beer and the steak was more expensive than the stuff that I bought. And when I say steak, I mean steak sandwich. So I bought this little reflector. It's for a bicycle. I thought I can hammer that flat, and that would be a nice reflector off the bottom of my number plate at the rear. So I thought, well, you can't have too many reflectors because let's face it, all you want to do is things that are safe. Oh, and by the way, this is Sophie. She's going to be our assistant. Louie's not very happy, the Supervisor Louie, not happy. Jasper, he doesn't care less. Whereas this kid is super chilled, can be a bit of a terrorist for the other people in the house. But to me, she's calm and good as gold. Anyway, back to the swap meet. Now, when Tracy and I went to America to get married in 96, end of 96, getting married in 97, I bought one of these from a service station, and what it is this shoves down on your radio aerial. I love them. And so I had it in my drawer for many years, and when kids came along, I hadn't put it on my cars. It was probably a Mustang by then, and I've got to tell you, it miraculously disappeared. So when I saw one yesterday at the swap meet, I thought, here's my chance to buy it back. So I sort of did that. But having said that, the best thing that I got was the very first thing. So Sophie and I have parked the FJ in the centre ring yesterday morning. We left home at like 5:30. We got there exactly at 8 o'clock. We don't push our FJ because it's, old and fragile. And so parked the FJ, did a bit of, moving things around, making sure it was all locked and whatever. And then I walked across the track onto the very first store that I came to. I saw this box, and it's Sidchrome, Siddons Sidchrome, Australia. And it's on hinges, and it's got a little lasp at the front. And I got to say that I thought, well, obviously someone's painted it silver and whatever, because it looks like it's red underneath there. So I thought, I'll paint it red. And Lachlan said to me, why don't you paint it ocean mist green, the body colour of the FJ, and we can put it in the display in the back. And I thought, that's not bad. And he said, then you can put the red pinstriping around it. I thought, even better idea. So we might just do that. But I thought that way I can keep imperial spanners in there, screwdrivers. Scotty Too Hottie said to me today, you can put some polish in there and some polish cloths and stuff like that. And I can even put some sockets and stuff like that in there too. And then just leave it in the FJ permanently. Because what I've got is a tool bag all wrapped up. And that was really good. And matter of fact, yesterday it got me out of trouble. I was coming back, I'm going to say, past Plainland. So I've come down from Toowoomba, down the range, through Withcott, heading back towards Brisbane. You're going to hit Ipswich and whatever along the way. And I got past Plainland and somewhere along the way, I actually felt something wasn't quite right. Just with so when you're pushing an FJ underneath your foot, you can hear the grey motor and you can feel the grey motor. And I just felt there was a little off at times. I thought, that's bizarre. And anyway, so I sort of eased off a little bit, and I'm sort of running through my head, diagnosing. I'm thinking, sounds like fuel. And by that time, I'd just missed an exit into a petrol station. But that was just to give yourself some sanctuary off the highway, because I already had, I don't know, let's just say 30 litres on board in a jerry can. And so, long story short, I felt after I felt a miss, and it didn't feel like an electrical miss, it felt like a fuel miss. And I'm not going to explain the two, but that's just what it felt like to me. And so I was going a little bit further along, and then what happened is I felt the engine start to want to, there was a lot of air and not a lot of petrol. I'm thinking, oh, this doesn't sound good. And I knew it wasn't timing or anything like that. I'm thinking, fuel. This has got to be fuel. My first thoughts were, I wonder if I've gotten toward the bottom of the tank and I'm getting some dirty fuel. Anyway, so next thing, I pulled to the side, and as I pulled to the side of the road, and I had Sophie with me, and she has a little bit of separation anxiety at the moment. She can't see me. She starts going off like a frog in a sock. Anyway, long story short, as soon as I eased over to the emergency stopping lane, all the lights came on, the car went off. I thought, I reckon it's fuel, and I reckon I've run out of fuel. So the first thing I did was made sure everything was safe around me. I got out of the car and I went to the front of the car. I'd popped the bonnet. I lifted the bonnet, and then I had a look at the fuel pump. Now, these fuel pumps, as the engine turns over on this off the lobe here, and that goes backwards and forwards, as that's pumping, what happens is the fuel here goes up and up and up, and then it goes over that filter. And then once it's over that filter, well, then it gets sucked down into the fuel pump, and then off it goes. So the fuel pump does two things. It provides fuel to the carburetor, and it also creates vacuum in the bottom half. But anyway, I digress. Well, we had a little bit of fuel in there, which was good. But if it's run out of fuel, it will be below the neck of the filter. And it was. Mark Costello taught me all this. Thank goodness for Mark. He's the guy that got me into FJs to start with. God bless Mark Costello. He's still a good mate of mine. Anyway, so it was below the fuel filter in the fuel pump. So I thought, okay, I know what's happened. I've run out of fuel. And in saying that, look, I'm not an idiot. I put fuel in, leaving here in Redland Bay. I went up to Toowoomba. I got to Toowoomba, and before I left there, I got the jerry can out, and I put the funnel in, and I just poured and poured and poured and poured petrol there, and hopped in the car, and fuel gauge was 3/4. I thought, that's 3/4 to go 164 kilometres. That's perfectly fine. Boy, was I wrong, because it wasn't 3/4. What was happening is, because that part of the FJ is not tried and tested yet, when I get down to 3/8 of a tank, that's empty. I learned that yesterday. So I was not getting fuel up and over that filter, because that whole bowl should be full of petrol when you look at it. Well, yesterday when I looked at it, it was under the filter there. So I thought, oh, well, it's not getting petrol here, therefore fuel's not going from here up to the carburetor. Now, by which time I'd wiggled my, I got the tools out, I'd wiggled the air filter off, and what I wanted to do was get to the carburetor. Now, if you've got fuel problems and your fuel pump is full, but you don't have fuel in your carburetor, sure, you can just pour fuel down the throat. However, if it's dry and you've run out of petrol, if your fuel pump is dry and you've run out of petrol, 10 will get you 20 that the carburetor is bone dry, because that's why it's stopped. You need fuel, spark, and air for the car to run. Well, if you take away one of those elements, it's not going to fire. So that being the case, around that time, Randy from the Queensland Club showed up, and I'm under the bonnet, and this fellow, now I've met Randy once before, and I'm going to say that was probably about 2016 or 2017, somewhere around there. I met the person once before. I've seen him at some club meetings and stuff like that. Said hello, but that's been about it. So I've got cars going past me doing 100 kilometres an hour. I've run out of petrol. I've got petrol in the back of the car in my FJ. I'm beside a very busy freeway. I've got a 9-week-old puppy screaming because she's got separation anxiety from her dad. There was a fair bit going on. So I got the carburetor out. Well, I got to the carburetor, and then I took the 6 screws. I took the 6 screws of this top carburetor plate off, so I could get to what's called the carburetor horn. And so there's a float in here. There's a float. So you've got jets and other components. But what you want to do is fill the float up, because that helps control petrol that's going to go into the engine as you push the accelerator pump. So what I did was I got my fuel out. I'd already put, say, 3 gallons in the tank. I already put 3 gallons in. That was fine. And so then what I did was I started taking the horn off. And Randy said, why don't you just pour petrol down the throat? I said, that's because it's run out of petrol at the fuel pump. What I need to do is take this carburetor horn off and fill that up. So I filled this all the way up, because then I don't have to turn over and turn over and turn over and turn over the engine to make the fuel pump petrol uphill into the carburetor and try and fill a dry carburetor up with petrol. If I take this cover off and fill the horn up, the carburetor horn, well, then it's got petrol ready for the engine straight away. So what I did was I filled that up, put the 6 screws back on, and then after I had that assembled, I just went into the car, and I've got to say, Randy helped me, and first go, that thing fired up. We'd already closed the bonnet. So I went, thank you very much, beep, beep, beep. And like anything, once you've got a car going, you don't muck around, you go. So it was literally straight away, get off the emergency in between I had an entrance road to my left and I had a freeway to the right. And so then I went onto the entrance road, went past their Nissan Petrol, and then I just got on the highway and I was heading back to Brisbane. So look, a really big thank you to Randy for stopping by to make sure I was okay. I'm going to have to talk to the Brains Trust about that fuel gauge not reading correctly. And I've got to say my ute didn't read correctly either. It would go down to about 1/4 and that was about it. Whereas this one was 3/8. So I've been caught the first time. I had a bit of an issue with it 12 months ago that Mark Costello helped me with. Sophie's having a big yawn. So I know what the situation is, and what I've got to try and do is, until it's sorted out, I've just got to make sure that fuel tank is nice and full. So there'll be a few other jobs on the go, getting things ready for our Jive Talking FJ as we get things ready towards the Nationals. But yeah, don't forget we're ably assisted by the new Sophie. Isn't she just so cute? Absolutely cute. And Louis, who's totally disgusted at the moment. and the very chilled out Jasper. He's like a nana to her. When she gets upset when she's in the pen, we just put Jasper in there and she's got someone to play with, and Jasper couldn't care less. He's perfectly fine. But anyway, that's the Toowoomba Swap Meet for 2024, the running out of petrol on the way home, and what you would expect from any Holden movement. Someone very kind from the club. Thank you, Randy, for stopping by and making sure I was okay. You've got to have tools on board. You've got to have petrol. You've got to have oil, and you've got to have water, particularly if you're going away from home. They're all sensible things to have. So as Sophie's having a bit of a look around in the Jive Talking Garage for the very first time, don't forget, share, like, and subscribe. But more importantly, enjoy your Holden.